Yo, we here. First video in the new spot. I'm at dorm. I'm actually in my apartment. I'm at proximity by ODU, so that's where I'm staying at. So this is gonna be what the vibes is like, for the first, for up until like winter break, that kind of deal. But very excited to be here, and very excited to just be be have my own room, have my own little spot for myself. Just wanna talk a little bit about that. So it's a really good idea. It's a very good thing. It's a little bit more enclosed, so probably still gonna be walking around a lot, but maybe not as much as I once was. So we're gonna try to keep it to like a minimum per se. I mean, there's not much I can really do, but I'm gonna sit down. We gonna get to talking. That feels too far. Let me back y'all. Real quick. Here we go. So first game of the day, Braves and Brewers. It was really just a really. I mean, obviously, a lot of these games are defensive battles. For the most part, just like it's more so like, hey, can such and such capitalize on on getting on base, and the Brewers were just more capable of doing that. They scored 2 times, they scored twice in the bottom of the third, once off of a solo homer, and then once off of a ground out into a fielder's choice. The Braves would cut the lead down in half on the RBI single, but again, like I said, the fact that the Brewers were able to actually able to capitalize more often than the Braves really is just like, okay, yeah, they got on base, they're actually able to score off of getting on base. They had 8 hits, I believe. The Braves only had 5. So I mean that's just how it is. And it's the same thing with Rangers and Nationals. Rangers took a 1-0 lead in the bottom of the third for Corey Seager solo shot, and they scored again in the bottom of the 8th off of a sacrifice fly. Like I said, just being able to get on base is already gonna be like a big thing for you. Then actually able to capitalize on getting on base. So, but moving on, we've got Raiders and Texans. It was really just the Texans were really dominant in the first half. They led going into half. It was a 20-3 lead. So I'm not thinking too much of it. I'm like, okay, this is probably only gonna get a little bit worse, right? It's 20-3 right now. If I'm being honest with you, I don't have the most hope for the Raiders because they lost to the motherfucking they lost to the what is it? They lost to the Cardinals. But the Raiders really came out. They were able to get stops. They forced a fumble. They forced a fumble. They were a couple of the fumble score. Then they were like they were just really able to get stops. They really locked in the second half, and they were able to make the comeback and finish it off with a game-sealing pick. So good job for them. They never give up. They kept fighting. I was very impressed by what I seen. From the Raiders backups. What was it? It was Fernando Mendoza. He threw a pick 6 to a Texan. So he has really been the most impressive in preseason so far, I would say. I thought I would see a little bit more out of him. But hey, preseason isn't really like the end all be all of it, the end all be all of how someone's going to turn out in the NFL. Moving on, we've got I think this is in WSL. We got soccer though. It's Colorado Springs versus Phoenix. Phoenix, like I said, like baseball, it's all soccer is all about just being able to capitalize on your chances. Are you able to capitalize on the shots that you get? Like if you get in line, are you able to capitalize? And Phoenix was able to capitalize 3 different times. The 35th minute, the 71st minute, and the 91st minute, 90 plus 1 minutes. While Colorado was only able to score in the 45th plus 2 extra minutes. Like I said though, like this is really about, can you capitalize? And that's really all sports is. It's like, hey, you've got this chance. Can you capitalize on that chance and put some numbers on the board? Shout out to KLT for queuing them boys. But no joke though. But that's really what it's all about. Is like just putting numbers on the board. Can you capitalize? When it's time to capitalize, and can you stop the other team from So that's what it is. Anyways, moving on. We've got Valkyries and Lynx. I really thought this was gonna be like a much different game. It was really just like the Lynx holding a really big lead for the majority of the game, for all of the game pretty much. Like the first quarter was pretty close. And then it would kind of like towards the end, the Lynx would kind of build up their lead, and the second quarter they would only extend on it, going up 41-26, right? I'm thinking, okay, that's over, because like the Lynx had a 20-point lead at one point, but a run by the Valkyries, they brought it down to 13, 54-41, going into the fourth, right? Then in the fourth, the Valkyries would be able to cut the lead down, get into within single digits. But the thing is that like every time they got it down into single digits, it wouldn't stay single digits for long. So it would be kind of like 8 points, then 10 points, then 8 points again, then 11, then 8, then 9, or you know what I mean? Like it would always fluctuate between a single digit game and then a double digit game. And so it really was just like the Valkyries were able to score, but the Valkyries were never able to get stops to cut the lead down even more. So it was just really in this never-ending cycle. So eventually the Lynx won 77-66. St. Louis versus Kansas City. Both teams, both scored a goal. Like I said, real defensive battle. Like I've said in the past, with these soccer games, they're real defensive battles. So it's not a surprise that these two teams where end up in a 1-1 tie. I mean, there were definitely chances. It's just like, hey, can we capitalize? And they just were never able to really capitalize. Now, on the other hand, for Houston and Chicago, this is for the NWSL. Chicago got completely obliterated. I mean, 5-0. I mean, Houston 1-0. Houston in the 4th minute, 42nd, 45 plus 2, 79th, and then 90th. I mean, it felt like Chicago just didn't have a chance in this game. It's just like they were just outmatched the whole way through. So if I'm being honest with you, I'd be very disappointed if I was in Chicago. I don't even know what their team is. We got Twins versus Braves. Twins went up 4-1, right? Twins went up 4-1 in the bottom of the 5th. Braves would then tie it up on a single sac fly and a balk. I never heard of a bulk before. Well, BALK, which is apparently is when a bulk is when a pitcher does something to deceive, like when the opponent's team, when the opposing team has a base runner, right? And like the pitcher, he does his like little wind up thing. He does like that to actually, let me look this up real quick. Let me look this up. So a bulk is an illegal motion by pitcher when base runners are on base intended to deceive the runner. So basically, when that happens, every base runner is safely awarded the next base, and that's pretty much how they scored. They scored on a bulk. I don't know how you do that. I've never heard of that. So when I saw that, I'm like, did he get, like, I walked out the room for a little bit, and then I came back. I'm like, oh, did he get freaking, what is it? Like, did he get walked or something? Like, did multiple people just get walked and I just don't even realize? But no, apparently it was a bulk. So that was interesting. Twins would eventually come out with a win 6-4 though. So I thought that was a very good game. Very interesting though, because of the whole bulk situation. I mean, I've never heard of that. So it just like surprised me. I'm like whoa, bulk. I thought I put a walk down for a second because I'm like, I've never heard of this. Like, did they mean walk? But apparently it's an actual term. Anyways, Fever versus Tempo. And the Fever really got out to an early lead. They got out quick. Fever got out to an early double-digit lead in the first quarter. Tempo would bring it back down to single digits, only for the Fever to go back up by double digits, going into the second with a 33-23 lead. And it's just like the Valkyries and Lynx game. This game was also filled with a bunch of times where the lead would go down, then it come right back up. The second quarter was filled with that. Third quarter was filled with that, and then in the fourth quarter, finally, like the Tempo, they're really on their games. They're really, they're bringing the lead down. It looked like they might actually, get a chance to take the lead. They're actually, you're getting stops and everything, but it just never really materialized for them. They were never able to actually really capitalize on the chances that they got. And the Fever hold on to win 101-95. Moving on, we've got more MLB. We've got Phillies versus Marlins. So this is really like a hold on. Yeah. Hold on. All right. So Marlins got off to a 3-1 start. The Phillies would score first in the bottom of the first, and then the leadoff batter in the next inning, the top of the second, Griffin Conine goes yard. Got a couple innings without a score. Miami scores off a single in the top of the fifth. Then they score again in the top of the sixth off of a Philly error. Marlins would take the lead with 4 runs at the bottom of the sixth, one coming from a double, and the other 3 from singles. So this is what I'm talking about when just being able to get on base, capitalizing on the chances that you get when on base. Marlins would bring the lead down to 1 in the top of the 8th, but the Phillies would score again in the bottom of the 8th, and they end up winning 6-4. Wings and Valkyries. This was a really close game for the first quarter. Second quarter would be pretty much all Valkyries. The same thing with third quarter. The Wings were able to get it down to single digits in the third quarter. Not turnovers, but they were able to get the lead down a bit in the third quarter. But the Vikings were able to bring the lead right back up to double digits. And then in the fourth, it was really when the Wings actually turned up. They were able to they fought back into the game, got the lead back into the single digits. Just really just more so of a case of too little, too late kind of thing. Like, hey, if this happens in the third quarter, you set yourself up good in the fourth quarter. That's why it's never good to go down in the third quarter, because then you have to break. You only have one quarter left to work your way back into the game. And if it in this, depending on how big the lead is, it just might be too little, too late. And that's kind of the case for the Wings, as the Valkyries hold on to win 78-70. So Tigers, Tigers go out 4-0 in the first two innings. 2 runs off the single in the first, and then 2 runs again in the top of the second off of a 2-run blast. We go a couple of innings without a score. Tigers add on after another single, right? Pirates finally get on the board at the bottom of the fifth off of an error. But then the Tigers scored 3 in the top of the sixth. Once we got a walk and 2 runs off of a single to bring it to 8-1. And to be honest, and up to the end, it was in then. But the Pirates would respond in the bottom of the sixth with 4 runs, 3 on doubles, 3 on the double, and then 1 on a single. But by then it was like they were able to score, but it's like that's the only like group of scores that they got for the rest of the game, and they were just never able to capitalize on anything really. So Tigers win 8-5. Then we have my Cowboys against the Seahawks. The first drive for the Seahawks was really good. They took up half the quarter and put 7 on the board. I mean, the Cowboys defense was looking pretty bad. But after that first drive, the Cowboys defense really locked in. On the Cowboys' first drive, they punt, but then they make the Seahawks punt, and then they kick a field goal on their next drive. So then the Seahawks drive down the field on their next drive, but a holding penalty ruins a fourth down conversion, and they end up kicking the field goal, but they missed the field goal, right? So then Cowboys take advantage, and they score on a beautiful pass to Camden Brown, where he adjusts to the ball as the Cowboys, not the Cowboys, but the Seahawks defense is straight all over him and catches it, right? So now it's 10-7, right? Cowboys on the first drive of the second half, they take up around half the quarter and score on a beautiful fade to Camden Brown again, and he just snags it in, right? Both teams will pass the ball back and forth without scoring, as there's a couple of flags on fourth down. They kick the punt back and forth, right? And there was one particular fourth down where there was multiple flags on the play, so it was like 4th and 8, 4th and 3. I was like, okay, what's going on? So then the Seahawks finally punt, and the punt returner for the Cowboys, he muffs the punt, and Seattle gets great field position off of it, and he actually got cut recently, somehow, some way, the Seahawks don't score. They don't score, and the Cowboys basically just run out the rest of the clock to end up winning 17-7. So I was very impressed by how the Cowboys played, by how the defense played, because they really locked in. I was really impressed with how the Seahawks played as well. I think they just got, just a case of bad luck, especially with like that holding penalty, that took off their fourth down conversion, and then obviously the missed field goal, because that could have changed a whole lot. If that doesn't happen, maybe the Cowboys don't score on that drive. But I was saying the main grab isn't even about the teams; it's the commentator, Kate Scott. Man, I absolutely hate her, and I can't stand her. She is so annoying. She's like, oh my god. Like, she's so monotone. When Camden Brown scored that touchdown where he had to adjust his body. He's like, it is caught, touchdown. And I'm just like, I'm getting annoyed. I'm getting irritated just thinking about it. Let me shut up. Let me shut up. Anyways, Braves versus Diamondbacks. Braves immediately take a 1-0 lead. As Ronald Acuna, the leadoff batter, takes a 1-0 lead. But then the Braves would tack on another run in the first. But outside of that, and then they run a solo home in the top of the seventh. It was all Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks scored 3 in the top of the second, scored another 3 in the top of the third, and scored another 3 in the top of the ninth. And then they scored on a solo homer in the top of the seventh as well. Wait, no, hold on. Wait. I got that wrong, or I don't know. But Diamondbacks really just dominated that whole game, winning 10-3. Now we have Ravens versus Eagles. Ravens really was really dominant this whole game. The Eagles were never really able to get much going. I was very impressed by Jacoby Lane and how he played. The Ravens defense was definitely just flying around, making stops, limiting yardage. So, just pulling to the ball, making sure that, that whatever yardage the Eagles do get, whatever yardage the Eagles do get, it's really minimized, and they really did a good job of that. Like I said, Eagles weren't able to get nothing going until they finally get on the board with 2 minutes left in the game to end it up 24-7. Then moving on, we've got Nationals versus Mets. This was a really close game all the way. And it came down to the wire. So it was a really close game. Both teams, neither team were really able to expand on the lead. Each team had a lead, but they were able to expand on it. The Nats did have a chance to at one point, but he slid into home, and it was an absolute perfect throw to the catcher, and he got the dude out at home, and I was like, oh shit. And then the Mets won on a walk-off single, I believe, to win 5-4. And we've got the last 2 games for you today. We've got Chiefs versus Rams. This was a pretty close game for the first half. Hold on. Yeah, it was a really close game. But in the fourth, though, the Rams would pull away just a little bit, scoring twice in the fourth to take a 22-9 lead, and then the Chiefs responded with a field goal to make it 20-12. The Rams win 20-12. I mean, it wasn't really much to say about that. I was watching the game, but it wasn't really that interesting to me. It was kind of boring. Then the Saints and Jets. This was another one of those. This is another one of those like comeback to win games. Saints got out to a really hot start with 21 seconds in. They got great field position on the kick return and the rushing touchdown by Estime. I believe that's his name, Estime. A Jazz field position. The Saints get a pick, but they wouldn't do nothing with it. Both teams would trade punts. The Jazz on the board. So going into half, it was really just like I said, it was all Saints. Going into the half, it was 20-6. So the Jazz really had to like come out and like, hey, let's get going, right? Jazz come out and they score, get a 2-point conversion, right? Make it 20-14. Jazz get lucky because the Saints miss a field goal, and then the Jazz would come down and go on a 10-minute journey. I'm talking 10 minutes. It was like 9:45, essentially 10 minutes. Kick a field goal, 20-17, right? Saints punt again. Jazz go down and take the lead 24-20, scoring 18 unanswered to win the game 24-20. Like I said, I was very impressed by the fact that the Jags were hold on there. And, obviously, it did it did require a little bit of luck with the Saints missing a field goal. And I've seen quite a few of those in the preseason so far. I've seen a couple of missed field goals in the preseason. I think that's like the most interesting thing about it. Is like you would think that these are professional kickers and like some of these weren't even. I don't even think none of these were like really hard kicks, but that's just the nature of it all. But I was very impressed by it, and I'm hoping to see more of these people. So that's it for me. I'm Chase Goins. This is Ball, and I'll catch y'all next Saturday. Peace.